This one delivers. Oh yes, this game demo really delivers on what I want in a side-scrolling Souls-like 2D, 2.5D action game. Because that's what it is. Mandragora is a 2.5D Souls-like action RPG, and it does this very well. I played the demo for about 4 hours, and it's a lot shorter than that, but I want to try to experience everything that the game or demo had to offer, and I want to try to max the characters, see if there was a max level and all that, and yeah, there is. Level 14 is a max level, and I want to try to see everything that the game had to offer, which I'm not sure I did, but I have gotten a good progression out of the game, and I really like it. And I will start out by saying that it's too bad that you don't get to try out the spell mechanics really. The only class available in the demo is the warrior class, which is too bad, but he has some interesting abilities and mechanics, but I would love to explore one of the mages. Because as you get to choose your class, there are multiple others there, but none of them are available. But you can really look to what to expect in the full game, so that makes me really excited. There's no release date on this game, as a lot of the mechanics, or sorry, there's no release date on the game as of the making of this video. Originally, it was planned for late 2023, around December, and they have slightly overshot that release date. So yeah, that release window is out the window. But developers are actively updating both the Kickstarter and the Steam page news, as well as the official website with the latest update, which focused on crafting and caravan NPCs. I'll be explaining that later in the video. That update came out on October 29th, so not too long ago. Oh, and I should also mention that the game also has Metroidvania mechanics where you gain new things, new knowledge, or keys or other items that will allow you to go to another location and such. Or just complete a quest that lets you now go into that area. I did encounter, for example, one specific place where my character said, I need a grappling hook to get there. And I was like, ooh, that's interesting. So that's gonna be fun to explore. So, on to the gameplay. It's a pretty straightforward side-scroller action RPG, and as I said, it has a fair bit of Metroidvania spliced into it. As you can see from the gameplay here, the art style really sets it apart, because I think it's very stylish and very different from other of its genre and other genres beyond that. I do like this art style. It's nice and it looks really good. The environment, enemies, characters all look very good, as well as the effects of magic and abilities, as well as the details are really good. I don't have anything negative to say about the art style really. It all blends really well. Nothing sticks out in a bad way. I think also the things that you can interact with sticks out in a way that lets you maybe figure out that, oh, I can do something with that, or I can go down there and I can go into that, and so on and so forth. Because it's a 2.5D, you can go down some ways, and the animations are really fluid there. And some paths you can maybe walk behind or walk into a door and so on. So there's a lot to explore, and it all looks really well. The combat is somewhat standard, but will have a lot of possibilities in the full game, I think, because every attack is basically customizable. You can customize every attack, including the basic light attack. This is of course depending on what works for you, but as a warrior, I would say you want something that generates focus, because that is your main focus is your main like mana. If you spend focus on abilities or whatever you want to call it, and it works well with the weapon class of the warrior, but I did think that the spending for shield bash was a bit too much, but that's a whole other thing. So if you're using a two-handed warrior, because you can use different weapons, but and there's different loadouts, but you are very limited, as I explain soon. But with a two-handed warrior, you can't use a shield bash for obvious reasons. So the abilities that you slot into that will
Locked.
When you have the different loadouts, when you switch weapons, you will also switch to a different loadout of abilities. So as a two-handed warrior or two-handed weapon warrior, you want abilities that work with a two-handed weapon. And if I remember correctly, the sword and shield can't use the heavy attack ability because you only have the one hand to use your strength into attacking, so you can't use a heavy attack, which is kind of it kind of makes sense, but as well as it doesn't. Oh well. Same with the magic from the looks of it, because it has very different elemental magics that require different kind of relics. I'm not sure how the mages, if they can use two different relics. I'm not sure about that because I haven't seen anything about it. I haven't really looked that deep into the news and such on the game. I guess because I don't want to get spoiled too much. But you can equip two weapon loadouts, and you can easily switch between these. And as you are limited to only 3 attacks per loadout, this including the basic light attack, as I said. So you have your basically light attack that generates focus or maybe generates mana for the mages, I don't know. But you have 2 additional spells / abilities beyond that. And having 2 similar loadouts could be beneficial, I think, depending on what you going for. I found two-handed weapons way too slow against most enemies. They do a lot of damage, but you can't block with them, and it's not really very good because, well, not very good. It makes sense because there's a lot of archers in the game, and I really want to block those arrows. You can dodge them, of course, but that drains more stamina than blocking. And plus, with a shield, you can also use you can also like bash their weapon in the air and it will stun the enemy, which is really useful. And also stamina is used when swinging your weapon, so there's that little thing. Expending all your stamina, it's not good. You're gonna deal less damage when you reach a certain point, and when you reach a certain point after that, you will be completely immobile, basically. Now, the effectiveness of weapons could, of course, change depending on the skills that you find. So a two-handed weapon could be really good later down the road, and plus some skill on my part. But you also have a skill tree that could potentially change how a two-handed weapon would work. The skill tree is quite the branching little tree because it branches out in many different directions, and I went for bleed damage when I tried because I figured it would be quite well, plus the secondary ability I have, or secondary skill I start with, has bleed damage to it. I figured that would be beneficial to have both my basic attack and that ability have both bleed. And yeah, I would say bleed is pretty good, at least from my experience. Now, some nodes in the skill tree are interesting, because each enemy kill gives you essence, which is used to level up, and each level gains you a skill point. I'm sure there are other ways to gain skill points as well, because think I did that. I think I got an additional skill points based on something I did. Can't remember what. Anyway, some nodes in the skill tree requires 3 points to be fully filled out. And with an attribute, and each attribute in that node is yours to choose. You can choose dexterity, strength, blah 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 blah. And when you have chosen 3 of them, you will gain an additional bonus effect from that node. For example, bleed damage. Maybe there's critical chance in some, or additional health and so on. So I do like that about the skill tree and the skill nodes, because that gives you a little bit more of a customization feel. Now, the game also has crafting system, and I think this crafting system is really well done, because this one could potentially really give the exploration a good feel, because when playing, like example for Elden Ring or the newly released Dragon Age the Veilguard, exploring is fun, but not always rewarding, because sometimes you find things you don't have any use for, sometimes you find things that are just utterly useless. I remember playing Elden Ring, going through a hell of a lot of enemies, and then suddenly I find a chest and I'm like, yes! And then I open it and it contains like a leaf or a weapon that weapon I don't use. And yeah, of course that will probably be the case in this game too, that I find weapons that I have no real use for, but at least I can sell it, because gold is also a good thing to have. In Elden Ring you just have too much of it. Same with Dragon Age the Veilguard. Gold isn't really in short supply, really. Now, first off, the NPCs that will craft for you are also an interesting part, because you need to find them. They need to be found and recruited, either by talking to them, just talking, or you need to complete a side quest that they give you. And some needs to be also found in the world, like in a dangerous area, so they need to be rescued, kind of. And I think this is a really good way of introducing the NPCs. When you're done, they will join your caravan. This caravan is like a housing area for the NPCs, for the crafting NPCs. And here you will find all the NPCs that you find, and they can craft different things for you. In the complete game there will be 7 of them, and in the demo you can find 4 of them. The Explorer, who makes maps and other things. I think he can gain information that he can share with you on monsters, like a bestiary, The Blacksmith, pretty obvious, he can craft ingots and armor and weapons. The Tailor, who can craft light and medium armor, and also bandages and capes and other useful stuff. You also have the Scholar, and this one is the most interesting one, because this one lets you enchant your weapons with runes. So this one is really useful for all the classes again. These runes can give you critical chance or whatever, That's pretty standard, that stuff, but having all of these 7 NPCs like being useful for any of the classes is a really good job, I think. They have really customized them to be like useful and rewarding for all classes. Now, all of them also require you to use them to actually level up, which I find interesting. You can also find diagrams out in the world, diagrams being like schematics that lets you craft new stuff, and every diagram you give to an NPC will grant them some experience. So finding a lot of diagrams out in the world will give them a lot of experience and will let you craft new stuff. So I think that the exploration can be really rewarding because of this, because if you find diagrams you will be happy no matter the NPC. Of course, some you might find more interesting, I guess, than others, but all of them are useful. Again, I can't stress that enough. I really like that. I hate having in crafting where you just different crafting NPCs and you're just, I don't need that person, I don't like that person because I have no need for that. I don't want to find crafting stuff for that because I have no need for it. It really takes away the experience, and it really takes away the importance of that NPC, I think. Having this really makes the exploration worthwhile. Now, as I said, the latest update news on the game explains all of the NPCs, and that's where I got the information. There's also more NPCs. I don't want to spoil them in case you don't want to know outside of the demo, so I'm not going to say anything more on those. Now, is there anything else to mention? Well, the story, I guess. I couldn't mention the short story. You don't get to experience a lot of the story, of course, in the demo, but you get a snippet of it. As I understand it, you're called an Inquisitor, and Inquisitors are a special branch of, like, well, warriors, or just fighters, special kind of you can't deal with this problem, maybe the Inquisitors can, you know? And in this demo, it's pretty simple that there seems to be the village has been, or the old part of a village has been overrun by something, and your quest is to find out what is happening on this island. You start off by outside of the town, and then you work yourself towards the town, dealing with monsters and bandits. And while exploring, you'll find these kind of shrines where you do your level up, and you can each time you rest there, all the enemies respawn, and your health and all that goes up to full, and you also refill uh, a certain type of potions. There are multiple types of potions that you can use. There are multiple types of salves and oils that you can use to enchant your weapons. There are multiple other things that you can use to increase your armor. There are a lot of things in the game.
Neat.
And the story, it's interesting, but I think it's fairly obvious that it's not the main thing of the game, which I think is fine actually. The gameplay is really the meat of the game here, and I really like the gameplay. Now, that's all I got for you in this video about Mandragora. I think that's how you pronounce it, at least. Mandragora. Well, anyway, I've been Swipe92. Have a great life and hope to see you in future videos. Bye bye.
Servant, grant me passage. I have business with your creator.